maybe I was a little bit too harsh on Dave Polsky in many times what I've said before. That is pretty much my opinion in what I think of this episode. The episode... Oh, hey, Black Belt Dragon here, and okay, continuing my vlog of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, and episode 6, Appleloosa's Most Wanted. Now, before I begin, if you've seen my Thanks for the Memories episodes, I kind of put in kind of a joke in the end where it pretty much was a little bit of my prediction of what the next episode would be. And I was kind of wrong. And so I was going to set up something, but, you know, can't do it anymore because it wouldn't make any sense. But I also have another problem. Because, let me tell you, recently, when I was rewatching the episode Thanks for the Memories, I've started to realize that song, I'll Fly, you know, is getting stuck in my head. And let me tell you right now, recently after that review, I went to Zakora to see if I can try to get rid of my problems of getting that song stuck in my head. And what happened was that my pet Yoshi ended up eating a fire flower. And kind of burned Sakuра's place to the ground, and now her place is kind of wrecked for a week. So instead of fixing my problem, she expanded my problem. Now every time I say the title of that song, that literally just stayed in my brain for the last few weeks, and if I even say that title, I'm probably going to stay for another week of that song. I just hope not. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, so yeah. You see, I also want to start off that I am not a huge fan of Dave Polsky. Not as a person, but as a writer in a way. I mean, he's written good stuff before. I mean, he's written some episodes for MLP, but you know, I knew Dave Polsky way back when. And what he's done so far. He, you know, did Scary Movie 2. He created the show The Buzz on Maggie, which is one of the worst shows ever on TV. Like, that came out at that time. Like, I watched those stuff, and sorry, I just have an issue with him. He's, you know, not as a person, but as a writer, and I really didn't think he was that great. But he pretty much wrote a few good episodes for the show, and I give him credit for that. Some episodes weren't great, some episodes were actually darn good, because from what I'm seeing so far, he decides to try something new and tries to stay out of his comfort zone out of comedy. One example is Rarity Takes Manhattan, which is probably the only episode that's only good Rarity episode, because to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the character at all. I don't want to go into any details because you'll be putting comments saying, why do you think that? Why? Like no, I'm continuing from now. So yeah, Dave Polsky, I don't think he's that great, but you know, at first, but after seeing this episode, I think probably I was a little bit too harsh on him. So, he writes the episode, Appleloosa's Most Wanted, and the story of this episode? It's another Cutie Mark Crusaders episode! Yay! So, you know, new Cutie Mark Crusaders episodes, so the story is pretty much they're going into some kind of fair known as Appleloosa. Then they discover out that there's some kind of villain known as Trouble Shoes. He's an outlaw of the West. And that's another thing. Trouble Shoes. That is the most invented villain name that you can come up with. I mean, you could come up with names like Dark Warrior or Killing Bandit or Tennessee Cooper. Even the Sly Cooper names, like the Sly Cooper games, managed to make a better name for like a Western outlaw. Tennessee Kid Cooper. That's a unique name. But no, we have to fear Trouble Shoes. Ooh. Okay, so yeah. So continuing on, so they find out about this outlaw known as Trouble Shoes, and so now Applejack is worried as usual, so she decides to tell her cousin, I cannot remember the name of him, he only appeared in one episode, so I can't really remember the name. He asks his cousin to take care of the Cutie Mark Crusaders, but he ends up pretty much losing his chance by falling asleep, and they pretty much escape out of the house. They go into the woods, and they pretty much find Trouble Shoes' house, and they find out that Trouble Shoes is just an innocent, huge horse. Is just an innocent big horse that really, he's not all that bad. He's nice and kind like Eeyore, but the problem is he has bad luck because his horseshoe is upside down of his cutie mark, meaning that it's pretty much his thoughts are it's bad luck. But then the Cutie Mark Crusaders find out that he was probably meant to be a comedian in a way, that he was meant for comedy. So of course, without getting back home because they lost, but then after, they pretty much lost their way to get back home, so Troubleshoots decides to bring him back home, but then gets caught by the sheriff, and the sheriff in this episode, it's kind of hard to really, see what he is. I mean, I'm pretty much seeing this out of a Western movie. Like, I've seen a sheriff like this in one of those movies. I just can't remember which kind of sheriff he's trying to portray. But, I don't get the joke. So, yeah, the sheriff catches Trouble Shoes, and it's pretty much a misunderstanding. And then, of course, now the Cutie Mark Crusaders have to get Trouble Shoes out of jail. And when they get him out of the jail, it's pretty much the easiest jailbreak I have ever seen in history. Like, for example, yes, we now discover that Sweetie Belle somehow knows how to use her magic, okay, pretty much it was a year ago, so that's not much of a big surprise. And so, yeah, they pretty much Applebloom distracts the sheriff in pretty much the most easiest way possible. The sheriff runs out, then the Cutie Mark Crusaders save Trouble Shoes from prison and decide, hey, you could be a comedian. Why don't you become a clown and be part of the show, but in disguise? So then they disguise him as a clown. He pretty much does his performance, which I can say is pretty much bringing back the old way of slapstick, which I thought was actually pretty kind of funny. Which was actually pretty funny. So then after that, they pretty much, everyone starts, laughing. He's very enjoyable. But then, of course, they find out that it's Trouble Shoes, and then, oh my gosh, it's Trouble Shoes. We have to get him. Get him. He belongs in prison. So yeah, he pretty much, gets caught again, but then the Cutie Mark Crusaders explain everything. But of course, that didn't really do much because they end up being in trouble in the end after leaving without permission. They clean up the arena. Applejack says something funny. And yeah, pretty much that's the whole episode. And so what do I think about it? I can say that yes, it is a good episode in my regards because I don't think it's actually one of the best episodes in the show. I think that the previous episodes were way better, but it's a very, just good. I found good things about it. I did find a few nitpicks and one huge big problem with the episode. Even for the writing being being good, it's just, I feel that Dave Polsky's comfortness to, doing something else didn't last too long, and he pretty much went back to his comedy ways, and yeah, comedic ways, yeah. So it's kind of a little bit of disappointment. And, but, at least he is actually trying to see if he can actually do something good with comedy. That's something is. It was kind of funny, but, I don't think it was great funny. So yeah, I just pretty much think the episode is good. I don't think it's like one of the greats. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much my review of Appleloosa's Most Wanted. Nothing much to say, it's just a pretty darn good episode. Okay, Black Belt Dragon signing out, and I'll see you on my next vlog. On my next vlog of MLP. I'll see you on my next vlog of MLP Season 5, Episode 7. Because I will be flying to the episode Saturday. Wait, did I just say the title?
And I'll fly, and I'll fly, and
I can stand that song in my head for the next 10 weeks!
There is nothing as exciting as that moment when you notice the Big Apple Circus is back with horses, dogs, and acrobats and acts of renown. It's one ring of wonderful with Grandma the Clown. Seats are never more than 50 feet from the ring, so even if you're really small, you won't miss a thing. The Big Apple Circus is your circus. Big Apple is back.